I'm going to show you a picture. Now, I'm no artist, but I hope it gives you some kind of idea of what this video is about. So here we have a bird, and ahead of him is a window. Now, what usually happens with birds and windows? They run into them, and in the worst case scenario, they die from it. So what's going on here? Why do birds run into windows? And are they dumb? Can't they just see that there's a window there? Well, they're not dumb. Birds are actually pretty smart. The issue is here that the bird doesn't understand that glass is a solid object. They see through it, so it looks like they can travel to the other side, but we as humans know that glass is solid and we can't go through it. Why do we know this, but birds don't? Because we make and interact with windows. Human beings created windows, so we have an innate understanding of how they're created and made. Birds don't have any conception of this because they haven't made or interacted with windows. This is all just a metaphor for what I want to talk about, which is analysis. See, some of us go through life acting just like a bird. We are so focused on what's on the other side of the window that we run right into it. There's not really stopping to look at the window and analyze it, to understand that we can't go through it. Now, most of us aren't running into windows on a daily basis, hopefully. In part 2, I gave an example of a student who wasn't thinking very critically when thinking about the show Breaking Bad, when he wrote about how Walter White was his favorite character and he was heroic and admirable. This is an example of someone looking through the window rather than at it. The student was not looking at the show or analyzing it, he was taking everything at face value. Just like the bird, assuming that because the object is clear, it can fly through it. So how do we actually look at a window and practice critical thinking, primarily through analysis? We look at the frame of the window. How is it constructed? How is it built? What is it made of? What's the material? How's the window designed? If we ignore the glass and just look at what surrounds the window, we can begin to understand that the window was made, thus realizing it is in fact a window, something that we can't go through. By looking at the frame, we are seeing the whole picture rather than just what's on the other side. This is the importance of critical thinking. When we focus only on looking through windows, we fall into the trap of something called confirmation bias, which is when we only look for details or information that confirms something that we already think. And like I mentioned in part 3, we are often wrong about some of our ideas, so confirmation bias can be really dangerous. I don't think I'm exaggerating with the bird metaphor and how birds can die from that, because this lack of critical thinking and awareness really is dangerous for us. It really can lead to death. We have plenty of examples in history of when people lacked critical thinking and the ability to think through things and analyze them. Even stuff that's going on today that's causing a lot of harm in the world. So let's apply this skill of analysis to something a bit more practical so we can understand how this actually happens. Here's one of my favorite paintings by Edward Hopper titled Nighthawks. Here's some question to ask yourself as you look at this painting. What is the first thing your eye sees? What feeling does this painting evoke? And what is this painting about? Now, for most people, the first thing they see is the people sitting in the diner. And this isn't by accident. Pay attention to the details here. Look at the frame, so to speak. Why did your eyes go straight to the people in the diner? There are many reasons for this we can point to. First, notice the lighting. The brightest part of the image is on the right side, whereas the darkest part is on the left side of the painting. Even the color palette is different. It's brighter on the right side and darker on the left. Our eyes immediately gravitate toward the brighter part. That's where the most obvious details lie. But if we only focus on the right side of the painting, we can miss the whole picture. There's a whole other half here. Without the darker left half of the painting, we would never even consider looking at the right. Every part of the painting matters. For example, pay attention to the composition of this painting. It's super important. It's horizontal, with the primary subjects on the right and in the foreground, when the left half is not only darker, but further back from what we can see. I could go on, but here we can see how analysis reveals significant details we would have otherwise missed or not paid attention to if we were only focused on the most obvious surface meaning of the painting. The very last question we should ask ourselves is what the painting is about. Instead, we should pay attention to how the painting is made and how it makes us feel. Through greater command of critical thinking and analysis, we're able to then compose our own ideas better. We pay attention to what we say and how we say it. Analysis gives us the opportunity to see the great power and responsibility that comes with any kind of communication. whether it's artistic or not. Because even though it's just a painting, Nighthawks is communicating a lot of ideas, many of which we have to really pay attention to in order to notice. So we spent these last couple videos looking outward at the external world and how the world around us can reveal a lot about our own voice. Now we can return inward with a new set of skills. We can begin to think about how we can use our voice. How do we construct our own windows, so to speak, or paintings, stories, essays, ideas, etc.? And why is persuasion a huge part of using our voice? What's the difference between manipulation and persuasion? And how can we convince others of ideas we really care about? These are all questions we're going to address in the next part. Before we get to that, here are some questions to ponder. Have you ever been manipulated or misled? What could you have done to prevent that from happening? Think about an instance where you changed your mind on an issue or an idea that was important to you. What led you to changing your mind? Think about your favorite song. Why is it your favorite? Think about aspects of the song and how it's made. Think about the lyrics, instrumentation, the beat, etc. What stands out to you about that song? See you next time.